I'm Scott Alan Miller. This is my life living in Leon, Nicaragua. It is a super bright, the rain just ended, sun is just bearing down on me Friday afternoon, but it's really pleasant outside. It's a beautiful day here in Leon, Nicaragua, and we're going to talk today about, is Nicaragua in 2025 still a great destination for digital nomads? I had someone ask me just the general question, is Nicaragua good for digital nomads? And we've talked about that in previous videos. So today we're going to focus on the update 2025, what's going on this year, and is this still a destination for those who've not checked before? Is it a good destination for those who have checked before but want an update? Is it remain a good destination for digital nomads? So we're going to talk about that right after the bump. For those of you in my regular audience who watch all the videos, have been following me for years, you're aware that I have been a digital nomad part-time since the late 1990s. Have always worked from home and in a very mobile way. So even when I had a home base, I worked as a digital nomad. Just sometimes that nomadry took me back to the place I was from. But I've always been very mobile. I originally was a digital nomad around the United States, primarily, a little bit in Canada. I worked all across the eastern seaboard in the Midwest, and eventually in California and Texas and so forth. I really spent a lot of time all over the US, but by 2007, we were heading off to Europe and I was working there as well. Sometimes I would work with an office and sometimes completely on my own, the traditional digital nomad process. But ever since 2015, 10 years ago, when I was full-time digital nomading in Spain, we've never stopped being digital nomads, just 100% of the time. Since then, we've done it in Europe, we've done it in Latin America, we've done it in North America, we've been around. So I think I have a lot of perspective to add to this, and as someone who is a businessman and a lot of my employees, I mean, dozens, scores of my employees. Wow, we just went from bright sun to a storm rolling in. Like, it almost feels like the rain has hit. This is like completely different weather. It's been 2 minutes, right? That intro and this, I didn't move, right? That was recorded 5 seconds apart from each other. This is some crazy weather. Those are dark clouds that just showed up. I'm sorry. That's really cool. I really have some insight because my employees, I deal with so many people who work as digital nomads, whether it's myself, my business partner, my wife, my kids to some degree are basically schooling digital nomads, and my employees, right? So we really have a lot of insight and have been doing this a long time. And this is, there's a number of things you really want to think about when you're looking to become a digital nomad, right? So digital nomads, this implies a few things, right? One, you're working, right? This is not for retirees who are just looking for a place to chill, right? That may be great. Nicaragua might be perfect for you too. That's a different discussion, right? You're not looking for a job. This is not people who are trying to work in whatever location they're heading to. These are people who are working online. That's all implied in the digital nomad name. I'm not saying that the name is fantastic. It sometimes implies wrong things, but you get the point. And the rain has already started. So we're assuming that you're working online. You're working remotely, right? The country that you're living in is not the country that you're working in. Holy cow. This is a storm coming up fast. So we have all these assumptions that come with the concept of being a digital nomad. So when we consider those things, there's a few things that are super important. Most important, probably, is internet. You have to have good internet. Now, for some people, it can be really flaky as long as it's fast enough to upload things. Maybe you're a graphic artist, and all that matters is you're producing some stuff and you can upload it. Then you can get away with some pretty shoddy internet in a lot of cases. But for a lot of people, you might need to be doing live phone calls. You might be like me and doing tons and tons of media, and you got to be able to move a lot of it really quickly. So you need not just decent internet. You need some rock solid internet, whether it's super stable, super fast, whatever. So that can be important, and latency can matter depending on to where you're working, right? If you're going to be on phone calls or whatever, people expect low latency connections for it to sound right. So those are important considerations. The second consideration is power. Now, this you should be a lot more flexible on in general, as long as the power isn't out so much that your laptop batteries or UPS batteries or whatever are not a problem, and as long as the internet stays up, most people are able to work. Not all, right? This is something to consider, but most people are able to work through some amount of power outages, right? Oh, well, I'm able to keep working on my graphic arts. I'm able to keep editing a video. I'm able to keep writing an article. I'm able to whatever. If the power goes out, that may not affect you. Even when I'm doing live streaming, sometimes the power goes out. I'm able to keep live streaming, right? My internet is rock solid. My batteries are great. I can go for hours, but I never have to go more than a few minutes. So there's things to consider with power, but it's definitely not as important as internet. Internet, you can't work around. Power, You can, sometimes by quite a bit. The third thing is cost of living. You need to have a place for most people that is effective. Because if you're a digital nomad, it means you're working, so money matters. You're not independently wealthy, or you really wouldn't be a digital nomad. You would just be independently wealthy and doing hobbies, right? You might get paid for them, but they're still hobbies. But with digital nomads, we're assuming you need to pay the bills. So having fewer costs, fewer expenses, means you don't have to earn as much to pay those bills. So that's always important when you're a digital nomad. And then the fourth is your visa, your permissions, right? Your right to be a digital nomad. Do you have the right to work as a digital nomad, right? Sometimes that's a different type of work in the country that you're in. So these are things you need to consider wherever you're going in the world. And included in your cost of living is, are you taxed? And maybe you are taxed, maybe it's very low, maybe it's really high. These are things you have to consider. Every country is different. So when we're looking at these things, these are what we're applying to Nicaragua in the context of being a digital nomad. How are these things here and how do they stack up to other places in the region, for example? We'll start with internet. Nicaragua has some of the best internet for digital nomads around. Now, there's a couple considerations there, right? One, we assume you're digital nomading back to North America, US and Canada, right? And so here, our internet connections as they leave the country go directly to Miami. So to someone in the United States looking at the speed of your network connection, the way that your internet connection behaves, it behaves like you're basically in the Florida Keys or maybe in the Virgin Islands, right? They can tell you're a little bit far away, but you're not like foreign far away. You're like far reaches of the United States far away. The latency time and behavior is right outside of Miami. So that is really perfect. There's several countries in the region that will have similar performance, so we're not unique in that, but it definitely puts us in the top tier of being near shore to the United States from a performance perspective. Now, if the place you're working for is China or Europe or something like that, then it's going to be a little bit less ideal. Some place in like North Africa may have a better connection to Europe. Some other place in Asia is going to have a better connection there or whatever. But for the bulk of people who are watching this, it's US and Canadian jobs that you're trying to do or customers that you're trying to support. They will see you as basically being around the corner. It actually feels that way. So that's perfect. And the quality of our internet here is some of the best anywhere. Definitely makes the US and Canada look like backwaters. So we're rock solid. We're able to get fiber all over. And if you don't want to be on fiber, you can get really cheap cable. That's good enough for probably 9 out of 10 digital nomads. For the few of us who have really demanding needs, fiber is very affordable. I pay for really high-end fiber. I pay about $80 a month. Very doable. Is that the cheapest? Absolutely not, right? I know people who are digital nomads are paying $30, $35 a month for cable, and it's absolutely adequate for them. So it depends on what you're doing, right? So play with different things, but you have access at reasonable prices to really good internet. I'm very happy with support for it, the overall speed, and so forth. And I've been doing this a long time. I know which carriers to use, and there's always those tricks that you have to know, right? And any environment, if you're just going with the internet provided by some place that you're renting, it's going to be terrible. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, doesn't matter how good the country is, it's your apartment building that's causing your problems. And of course, the same thing here. If you go with some of those expat enclaves, some of them are famous for having terrible internet. It's intentional. They have high quality Nicaraguan fiber right up to the doors of their enclave, but some of them don't allow high quality into, and they just have some really slow service so they can overcharge, and they may be charging $100 a month for 1 megabit to their customers because they're trapped. They're a isolated audience, right? So there's no reason for them to provide good pricing or good speeds. Their audience can't go anywhere. They have to take what they're going to get. But the Nicaraguans who live right outside are on beautiful fiber, have no problems at all, and pay almost nothing. So important to consider these things, of course. Enclaves, while they may seem great for digital nomads, and sometimes they are, quite often they're not. I'm getting rained on for real now. Now, for cost of living, Nicaragua is the lowest cost of living, not so much so that it has no competition. Whoa, we got some wind. You're not going to find it dramatically cheaper than a Paraguay or a Colombia, but it's going to be very competitive and generally cheaper, but they're all very much in the same category. But you're at that lowest tier. This is as low cost as you can get in the Western Hemisphere, so it's a great location because of that. And our taxes, importantly, for those who are digital nomads, is zero. That is not taxed here, so you don't have any additional costs to worry about with that. You just have to pay your rent, your food, and those kinds of things. My camera's getting sat on by my dog. She's very nervous because of the storm. Because of that, your cost of living goes really far, like really, really far. I don't know of any country that has such low cost of living and no taxes. And importantly, then when we look at that visa, are you allowed to become a digital nomad and how hard is it? Yes, you absolutely are, and it's automatic. Right? This is not a visa you have to apply for. In Costa Rica, you have to apply, and there are limits. In Nicaragua, you do not have to apply. As long as you can be a tourist here, you can be a digital nomad. So this is a limitless digital nomad scenario. A lot of people come here. I know at least one person who's been a digital nomad as an expat living here without residency, just doing border runs, staying a tourist for 15 years. I know others who've done it for 8 years, right? Really long term. This is not something where you're like, well, I get to do 90 days, then I move on to the next place. Of course, you can do that. But if you want to stay, you don't have any limits. I don't know any other country in the region that has that. I don't know of any country anywhere who offers those combinations of things. So Nicaragua actually comes in as the absolute #1 in the world, or tied for #1 in the world for permissions to do digital nomad. It is #1 for taxation, or tied as for #1 for taxation of digital nomads. It is as easy as anyone in the world to come into. Cost of living, it is one of the best. You can potentially go to like East Africa or Southeast Asia and find some places that are cheaper, but they're not going to be a lot cheaper. And importantly, they're going to be very far from where we're talking about probably being based, right, from North America. So you have a lot of cost of flights and stuff to consider, a lot more barriers, like cultural barriers to have to work through. And that may be fine for you. And if you're a nomad, you probably want to try out a bunch of places, so check them out for sure. But when we're just doing a price comparison, for most people, the cost of flights and the quality of connection, this goes together, to North America puts Nicaragua in the top category for those things. If you were going to live somewhere for 20 years and not fly back ever, then Southeast Asia or East Africa may outperform Nicaragua in price. Totally reasonable. But if you're having any reasonable amount of flights back and forth or needing to move around, then we're going to be cheaper overall as an overall envelope. But those other regions, whether it's Southeast Asia or Africa or whatever, their internet connections back to North America are so physically far that things like phone calls are noticeably not as good. You can still do them, but they're not at the same tier. They don't sound just like you're still in North America, so that's a value. And most of those places have decent internet, but not all. But none of them are really going to dramatically outperform Nicaragua. We're in a really good tier. I'm not going to say we're the best. We're the best in the region by far. There's, I don't know, anyone who comes close, including the US and Canada. Like, it's nice moving here. From there, everything gets better. And similar things go for power. The type of power issues we have here, which we do have many, are very short blips. I'm sorry for the loud noise of the storm. It's really coming down. The blips that you get here on the power tend to be exactly what don't matter to most digital nomads. If you're got big studio lights and you're doing big projects, you may be affected. But if you're normal people doing recordings like I am, if the power went out right now, it wouldn't affect me. If the power went out after this, when I'm uploading these videos, wouldn't affect me because my internet's not affected. If I'm doing my live stream, even with studio lights, I'm not really affected because a little bit of batteries go a long way. If I'm programming or doing IT work, which is what I do during the day as a digital nomad, doesn't affect me. All of my things keep working. And typical outages are about 30 seconds or less. Many are 5 seconds. So you have to be ready for this quick blip. Oh, everything reset in the room, beep, beep, beep. But I'm still working, nothing happened. My computer stays on, my internet stays on, my calls keep going, nothing drops, right? So as a digital nomad, zero impact. And everything turns back on instantly. And the bigger outages that go a few minutes, same thing. They don't really affect me, they're just pretty rare. On a really rare occasion that we have a longer outage, I've yet to have one in the last 4 years that went long enough that my batteries timed out. So in theory, we may have one. It could happen where you're going to actually be affected and you're not going to be able to work, but that's pretty rare. Now, you could be affected to the point where you don't want to run your air conditioning unless you have a generator or something. That's more reasonable. Of those types of outages, once in a great while. But of outages that affect me from working perspective, as a digital nomad, I have had zero in 4 years. Zero since I moved to Leon into the city. When I lived in the country 5 years ago, during major electrical construction on the grid, there were a few outages. It was a rough year, but that was in a really rural location that was much more impacted at a time where big projects were going on that were impacting us. And there's the thunder as the storm rolls in. And I have this very scared dog down at my feet. I'm going to just look at this doggy. She's so nervous. She's so nervous. Poor thing. She's actually sitting on my foot. She hates storms. But so I really do believe, right, as a digital nomad, as someone who hires people who work from home, Nicaragua gives us the best place to hire, the best place to work, the best place to move people. It is a really good choice. There's plenty of other good choices too, but Nicaragua is absolutely fantastic. And I think you will really struggle to try to come up with a place whose overall package of all the things, really good power as it pertains to digital nomads, really good internet as it pertains to digital nomads, really good cost of living for anybody, really good taxation for digital nomads, really good visa situation. So many of these things, it can't get better. And no one in the region generally comes close. Almost all of them have one of those things or many of those things that are major negatives. All things you can work around. Don't avoid wonderful countries just because they have some challenges. But if you're wondering, is this a good place for digital nomads? The question is there any place better? I want to know. Get down in the comments. Where even competes? Thanks for joining me. Like and subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/ScottAllenMiller. It helps pay for all the stuff that I do. And yes, I do this as a hobby. Yes, I do have a day job. And some people complain because they don't think that a person who has a job should be allowed to make money doing anything else. And they think that I should donate all the cameras and licensing and software and everything to do the show. And I do because I love it, but it really, really means a lot to me when you guys help offset those costs, because I'm doing this for you guys too. It's not only for me. So for the people who complain that I shouldn't have, no one should be asked to buy me a coffee. I mean, you shouldn't have a job? What kind of response is that? Just because someone can afford to live doesn't mean they should lose money trying to answer people's questions. It's a voluntary, right? Like, if you can't afford it, don't do it. But if it matters to you, it really does help. This is an expensive thing to do and takes a lot of time. I'm really enjoying this rain. This is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. Don't forget that on Thursdays, we try to do a live stream. We don't do it every week, but we're pretty good about it. My daughter does the artwork for the thumbnail, so check those out. They're very interesting. But we have this awesome, long hangout time. Just put it on a TV, grab a beer, get some popcorn, watch a show, talk to people on your phone while you're doing it. Like, it's really cool. It's fun. If you have any questions, get down those comments and ask them there, or just say hi. Get in the show notes. You can send in a video of yourself and I'll put you on the show. I love doing that. It's a lot of fun. And of course, if you need to contact me, everything's in the show notes. Anything you could possibly imagine that you could possibly need, it's in there. And I will see all of you tomorrow.